Hello iPad artists, welcome back to How to Draw Caricatures. This is Advanced Caricatures for ArtStudio on iPad featuring the new ArtStudio app update. This is going to be a little bit faster paced. I'm just assuming a lot of you know most of the basic fundamentals on how to use ArtStudio. I will be slowing things down at certain points to show you some details, such as the new feature on the app where you can actually pick all these different amazing preset sizes for your pixels. It's really nice. You don't have to guesstimate. It's all there for you. What I'm doing right now is I'm just setting up my layers because I'm going to do a really loose undersketch of Eddie, who is my subject for today. And I'm going to go to my second bottommost layer to start sketching at about 33% opacity with my regular pencil tool. So I'm just going in, blocking it all out. I'm assuming most of you watching this have already been drawing caricatures, so this is more of a tutorial to show you the process more than anything. What I'm doing now is I'm in my very top layer. I'm going in with black line work at 100% opacity. I'm trying to get as bold lines as I can, utilizing the undersketch that I have as a template. As you can see, I am modulating my line quite a bit. I am going between different thicknesses. With his outer hairline, I'm using a gray color. The same thing with his goatee as well. Just gives it a little extra oomph. Colored lines are always a good element to throw into any caricature to make it pop, especially if you're doing it utilizing an iPad or a digital tool. What I'm doing now is I'm going to slow things down a little bit for you to show you how I start applying color. I'm going to be using the lasso tool, which you can find on the bottom panel there. I'm going to select the face. And then once I have the selection, I am going to use my paint bucket to fill it with the flesh tone. Now, once I have done that, I'm going to get rid of my selection and I'm going to start filling in whatever gaps are left behind, because I have other plans with this this color here. Now that I have everything filled in the way I want it to, I'm going to go to my magic wand tool and select all of the flesh tone. I'm going to go to my gradient. I'm going to pick a reddish color for the layer above. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little gradient to the top from color to transparent. And what you're seeing here is I do not have it set to radial, which can be found on the bottom there. But now that I do, I'm getting a much the desired effect that I wanted before. I'm just lightening it up a little bit by knocking down that layer's opacity. And now I'm going to the next layer above that. And I'm going to start incorporating all of my shadows. What I did was I set the layer to a multiply layer, and I'm going in with a deep red, and then I'm going to go back into the layer and knock the opacity down so it has a much more of the desired effect. I try to use a darker red for my shading. I just feel that it has it meshes with the peach coloring or the flesh coloring just really well. But if you feel that you want to use a cooler color, feel free to do so. Just make sure you set that layer to multiply and kick down the opacity a little bit. And now I'm a layer above that using straight white for the goatee, and I'm going to be using my smudge tool to try and soften up those edges a little bit to have more of a blended feel. One more layer above. What I'm doing now is I'm just coloring in his lips with a flesh tone that I have in my pre-made palette, which I could show you how to make in the very first caricature app tutorial. And now I'm using one of the paint brushes to add some strokes to the goatee to give it a little more texture. I'm just using a light and dark gray with the opacity knocked down a little bit to get that effect. And now I'm coloring in his shirt, which I'm going to do the same thing I did before with the peach color. I'm going to color it in, block it in, and then I'm going to select it with my magic wand and add a little gradient to it, just like before. Now that I have that done, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add in his eyes. Now, as you see, I got a ton of layers on here. I'm a very layer heavy kind of guy, but always make sure when you're coloring that you can grasp the concept of how the layers work, which layers are on top of other layers. Make sure that your line work is always the topmost layer. Otherwise, you're just going to end up coloring on top of all of your stuff. So that eye right there, the placement wasn't exactly where I wanted it, so now I went back in and I'm going to start adding some highlights, which is really easy. You just go in with some white. I'm going to go into another layer above that with the brown using my lasso tool, color select, and I'm going to add in a nice little cool highlight effect. Just like that. Now, next thing I'm going to do is we got to add a few highlights. I'm going to use my airbrush tool. I'm going to make them really soft. The opacity, as you can see, is kicked down pretty low, so it's not too poppy. It's just nice and subtle. And then I usually try to leave a nice sharp point of light on the tip of the nose and on the lips, just to help it stand out a little bit more. Last thing's last. He's got glasses in the picture, so I need to add them onto my topmost layer. So what I'm going to do is get my black, add in the framework. There's also a really cool feature in here where you can make your lines absolutely straight without even having to try. You could also give that a whirl. Using white for the under portion of the glasses, I'm using my airbrush tool to give it a nice soft glow. And then I'm just tying it all together with a nice blue line on the outside. And then the rest of the frames. I'm going back in to highlight because since I actually drew that on the same layer, I've got to fix my mistake by highlighting over it. Sign your work, and biggity bam. Advanced Caricatures 101 with Eddie from Texas. Perfect likeness.